So this first report is what's called the harvest report. And Matt created this for one of our customers. And Matt, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how this customer uses this report.
Yeah, so this customer wanted kind of more of a flat file that they could, take some of this data and manipulate it and do some other analysis and take it elsewhere. But this one, we kind of have two similar reports that we'll show you. This one basically is working from a quote unquote finished good in terms of just happens to be more of a cultivation specific customer selling bulk flower. So this is kind of starting from their finished goods and working backwards. So they wanted to understand, okay, from I produced this much bulk flower. How much biomass did that take? How long did it spend in flower? When was it harvested? When was it transferred in flower? How much waste came off of that harvest batch? So it's getting a better understanding of their yields from all the way from the original biomass to the actual finished good output, and understanding really their overall yields, whether that's monthly, quarterly, yearly, over multiple, and then be able to compare it across cultivars as well.
Awesome. And you'll notice a lot of these reports. Here's my disclaimer. We redacted any information that's specific to the customer, so you can't see that. That's why you'll see big blank spots in some of these reports. That's why I want to show you the generic ones first, because you'll see a little bit of white space in these reports. How did this customer, Matt, do this before they had Power BI or before they even had Silverleaf? How would they track this sort of data in the past?
Lots and lots of spreadsheets.
So we see, I'm sure everyone on this call lives in a world of a lot of spreadsheets, right?
Yeah, it was just generally putting together a lot of data from a lot of different places, a lot of, X lookup, V lookups to different spreadsheets, and, to be able to get it all kind of slammed together.
And so this must save them a lot of time having this report each day or each week, however often they're looking at it.
For sure.
So now this one is a different customer wanted the same information in a little bit different way. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this report?
Yeah, this one's a pretty close to near identical information, but going the opposite way. So in this case, this is starting from the actual harvest batch. Understanding when it was harvested, the canopy square feet, how many plants came off of it, and then this is where it starts to get into more of the details, being able to compare against expected versus actual. So how much expected biomass did we expect to get off of these plants versus what we actually got, and the same goes for the dry flower, whether it's fresh frozen or dry flower, and so forth.
This one scrolled so far, I've got it on 2 pages. So remember for our attendees, when I popped up that cultivation order and we saw the expected biomass, that's what's driving all these numbers. It's coming from that cultivation order, right, Matt? Did I say that right?
That's correct. Yeah, all of this information is being directly driven out of Business Central.
Awesome. Awesome.
None of this is hard-coded.
Oh, that's great. All right. So the next one we have, this is our unscheduled orders report. One of the features in Silverleaf is that we can integrate with LeafLink. So this example report is leveraging LeafLink as well as Business Central or Silverleaf data. Even I forget where one stops and one starts. They're so closely tied. Matt, why don't you talk a little bit about this report and how that helps a customer?
Yeah, so this was the kind of, there was like 2 tabs to this report. So this one is more on the unscheduled side, understanding what's been scheduled versus what hasn't been scheduled of the orders that are coming in. You'll notice some of the orange highlights, and obviously some of this stuff has been redacted, but the orange highlights would flow all the way across. But basically that, kind of alerts the customer saying, hey, you have a new submitted order from this customer through LeafLink, but you already have one scheduled for this customer for, let's say, 3 days from now, 4 days from now. So it's highlighting to them, tell them, hey, this order is could probably be basically scheduled with the already existing order that's going to be going out in 3 to 4 days.
Awesome. And so, yeah, so this each row would be a customer, and then the orange ones mean there's already orders out there for them. And then we see down here the LeafLink orders associated. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So the bottom left one is just a little bit more details in terms of breaking out order notes and other things like that. We're on the right-hand side. So just like how Sarah showed you that you can click on something and it filters down the other visuals, this is the same thing. So they could click on, that first red line at the top, which would filter the information down below. So they would be able to directly see down below the order that is scheduled. Would it make sense of trying to throw it in with this one? Does it not? And this is where they can start to make some of those business decisions.
That's awesome. And then let's talk for a minute about our delivery tracking, because this then, when these orders are created, our delivery tracking will do the manifest. Well, I don't want to steal your thunder. Talk a little bit about that, that piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of a, of course, this customer happened to be a metric integrated customer. So, because it's metric integrated, you have to go through a metric manifest. But, we basically populate the whole manifest. So, they'll select a driver, the vehicle, they sign them, those to the orders, which will generate the metric manifest templates and go from there. Now, if it's not a metric state, let's say a state like Arizona, where we could be the manifest provider, then, same thing goes there. We can print our manifest that has all the same information.
Awesome. I love this one. I saved my favorite one for last because I love, productivity is so important. So why don't you talk a little bit about this one, Matt? Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so this customer has a fairly large distribution fulfillment process. So that data became incredibly important to them in making sure that they're efficient each week, month, quarter, that they're meeting their sales needs. There's two tabs to this report. We only highlighted the one, but the other one basically looks identical. But we have a picker data versus packer data showing, the number of units that that's individual picked or versus packed, how many orders was that, how many lines was that, how many boxes did that satisfy, and then the dollar amount. And at the end of the day, these pickers and packers then can get incentivized, based off of, what they picked and packed and, where they basically fell in line versus, their coworkers.
Gotcha. So this fourth person, we can see how well they're doing, and that's probably our sample picker when we're doing test data. But yeah, we can really see how people are doing. How did they handle this before they had Silverleaf?
Once again, it was a Google Sheets, just kind of manual input of, exporting reports out of some other system and manually just have, maintaining some type of either Google or Excel sheet of some nature.
Awesome. Well, and this is really, I think, exciting if they have a sales forecast in Business Central where they're predicting what their sales are going to be each month, and they know their busy season's coming. This helps them decide also probably how many pickers and packers they're going to need, and helps them schedule labor. Okay, thank you. So we don't have samples of other ones, but Matt, tell us about some other exciting reports that you've been working on. I know just last week you were at a client's, and I'm glad you came home so you could do this with us, but I'm sure your family's glad too. But maybe tell us about some other reports that I know you were working on some last week.
Yeah, so I was on site last week during a go live with a client. One of the big ones that they certainly relied on, and really they built with my support of just helping them understand where to get the data, but they really took the ownership and built their own report. But basically you were using, once again, a bunch of either Excel or Google Sheets to plan out their entire extraction process and understand, what's been planned, what hasn't been planned, what are we doing this week, what are we doing next week, what are we doing over the next month. So we were able to satisfy that in a Power BI report where, they're managing production orders in the system for their extraction processes and reserving inventory. So from there, they're able to, every Monday or Friday, I can't remember the exact day, that they, management gets together and they meet and understand, hey, what do we have, planned for next week? What's been reserved? What's been planned? What hasn't been planned? Here's all this fresh frozen. What are we doing with this? What's our end game? Awesome. And basically this was all a bunch of, like I said, Google Sheets, and we were able to eliminate down to some Power BI reports. And they have a bunch of tabs, to cover all the vast amount of information that they want to cover.
That's really interesting. Any others that you'd like to share with us? We talked about trimming, I think.
Oh yeah, so I know they do some trimming tracking on information as well, just understand per employee, how much, like potentially, dry flower did they receive? How much did they provide back? When did they start? When did they end? Once again, it's all about incentives at the end of the day for
Yeah,
some specific clients. They want to incentivize their employees.
yeah. And also to make sure they're well trained and productive.